Well, this is our last official meeting, but John spoke with the county administrator, and he'd like to talk to all of us before we present to the board. He would like to speak with us about what our recommendations are and how we see this going, to kind of give, I'm assuming, his take on what he sees for the future, the budget implications and all that. So I said I would be happy to meet with him once we have our stuff. Anybody's welcome. I don't know when that'll be, but before we present it to the board in January. So I will let everyone know. Everybody got everything, the 15 million emails, all of our notes from last time. One of the things I do know that John did not get a chance to get out the outsourcing of HR, but he did speak with someone yesterday. I will read you the information. He spoke with Heidi at ATR, and if we outsource the payroll function, it would be about $1,500 a month. If we outsource the other pieces of HR, being the retirement coordinator, employee files, leave requests, benefits coordination, it'd be $60 an hour. So that's about 10 hours a week at $60 an hour is about $30,000. And she advised us to expect about $5,000 per month for outsourcing bookkeeping function. So the bookkeeper's pay is about $55,000 a year, which we wouldn't save any money. He did not get any information on the IT, but knowing when I worked at HRDC, they outsourced IT to, I think it was Allegheny Computer, and depending upon what the needs are is how much you're paying. So you can either have a set rate, and if whatever's within that set rate they can do, or you can do it per hour. So that's something that we can be negotiated. And everybody got the salaries with each position, and then also date of hire. So because we had discussed retirement, people who were close to retiring, that stuff. So right off the bat, last time we decided or discussed that decreasing to 2 vehicles would be about a savings of $6,000. We're all still okay with that? Now, what I couldn't remember is, does that include the insurance costs, or just the maintenance?
I think that's
everything insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's $6,000. Okay, that's not. And then to eliminate cell phones is about 3,600. We all still agree on that. That's actually 3,580. Now, increasing out-of-state fees anybody have that information? I couldn't find it. I was trying to look for it today and I just couldn't put my hands on it. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we do want to get everybody to a livable wage. Probably not going to be able to do that in 1 year.
Right.
So do like a phase-in approach. So somebody who's good with math, which is not me, we should figure out, our total was what, 290 to increase to a livable wage? So, yeah, about 300,000. So about, let's just say in 3 years to get them to that livable wage, which probably will still increase it, but at least in the 3rd year, we'll be on a better track of saving money and changing budget and stuff. Somebody good with math is gonna have to figure out what each, tier and, position would be increased for 3 years. So that'll have to be figured out mathematically. Not my forte. So now we're looking at, for our purposes, we're looking at, in the 1st year, either reducing 120,000 or raising 120,000, keep the budget the same, and then this 100,000 to be able to start to increase to a livable wage. So we're at what, 220 or 80,000.
That $100,000 a year is if we do not, I know some people were talking about capping certain salary amounts.
Right.
So if we were to do that, that would lower that 100,000 by like a bit.
Probably not by a most significant amount, but somewhat.
I think most of the raises are percentage based. So if the person is making 6 figures, their percentage is a lot higher than the
Yeah.
person making
Right.
30,000. So
And I kind of have a question as
Yes.
far as, employees. I don't know the demographics of all the employees for the library, but do you have anybody that's close to retirement that would be amenable to taking early retirement with maybe?
That was sent out. There was a list of, hire dates and then the retirement policy.
Mhm.
And I don't know because I don't know the employees or if anyone.
I mean, because even if you gave somebody a severance package, that's a one-time expense.
Right.
So once that's out, I know you don't have the funds for severance, but, that
Well,
would
I mean, we can, if we feel that that's going to be a significant savings for us year after year, because we're not just looking at this next year. We have to come up with a plan that's gonna, sustain this.
sustainability was the word that Ally used
Sustainability,
last time,
yes.
and I thought that was exactly the right word.
We need to come up with a plan that's gonna be sustainable for us in the future.
A few of the positions that are eligible for retirement are not within that livable wage range anyway, so it wouldn't
Be a significant.
save us that
benefit
much, because we're gonna
that.
have to replace
Okay.
that position anyways.
I think we had talked about, one of the questions was in the portal was, what savings would it be if we closed each branch one day a week?
Yes,
And that was what, close to 29,000, was it 28 something?
That was the figure that John gave,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem to jive, and I asked the question again, and I
Yeah,
got
and
no
I
response from
didn't-
John.
really.
That,
Yeah, I got the same answer.
when I was looking at, if we take Paulsburg, for example, according to the data that we got on one of those charts, it's $87.47 an hour to operate that branch. So one day would be $612. for one day if we shut down. I know part of that is wages. But my figures came out a whole lot different, and I felt like I was getting a runaround from John. He gave out, I think it was like 23,000,
Yeah, I'm trying.
but that was only part-time salaries. There was nothing else included in what he gave me, or what he gave in that question, because it was my question on, but I don't want to say we're getting spoon-fed information, but sometimes I feel we are, because it's going through the director's office, so it's colored before we get it.
And it's all perspective. I mean, it's all according to what that person's looking at. And the way we're looking at it could be totally different than the way he's looking at it. And I don't know the rationale of either, I mean, what his rationale is. I'm trying to read. This is the, I don't think everybody saw this. Did everybody see this email? Just to refresh your memory on what we're talking about. What would be the savings if each branch closed for one day a week, using the days with the most hours per branch minus staffing? Response, we've selected Monday as a day for all branches to be closed. This would allow public services staff to have a 2 consecutive day weekend. Closing all branches to the public could save $28,752 in reduced wages of part-time staff annually.
So all I took into consideration was part-time salary,
Part-time
not
staff.
any other savings if the building is closed.
Like energy savings.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and without knowing how to calculate that, I mean, we would have to look at.
But based on just what the figures that we got, each branch one day would be $4,500 a week times 52 weeks, which would be a whole lot more than $28,000.
Yeah.
Because all it was looking at was part-time. It didn't look at any other savings. It would, that wouldn't have to be, the vehicle wouldn't have to be running on that day because there'd be no branches open,
You said 6,500?
I'm sorry,
What was your figure? I'm trying to do the math.
per week, 4,522.
Wasn't John discussing not actually shortening the hours, but rather shifting the hours so that
Right.
the branch could stay open? So that's kind of different than the question
Right.
you're asking. That's why.
That's why I was trying to get, he wanted to shift the hours and keep the same number of days, just shift them to a different period. Where I was
It's just-
suggesting just shut one day where,
Like blackout days.
right,
Like we had
if
this.
the Western Port's open 3 days a week, under the new plan, it'd be 2 days a week, but it would still be open part of the time. Is what I was looking at.
Great.
And John was looking at it differently, just shifting and using Mondays where all the branches were shut down. But shifting those hours to other parts of the week.
Well, we know for sure that it's some kind of savings. It probably, we
Yeah, but
we
we're
don't know much, but at least 30,000, I would suspect. Don't you think? Would be
That's
maybe
just
something
the
to start.
salary.
Right.
Yeah, something to start with, maybe.
But we don't want
So
to,
it would be more.
but we don't want to cut full-time staff anymore.
Right. I
It
think he
looks,
was trying
it
to
looks
keep
way
that.
too, yeah,
Right.
so maybe that's why he gave the 28 as
For
opposed to.
just part-time.
Yeah,
Sure.
Because we don't want to affect benefits and, the whole 40 hours a week.
And I know I'm going to come across as the Grinch at Christmas time, but having gone through this before in other situations, if you're going to cut services, you're going to have to cut staffing, because you're not going to, if we cut buildings, we're not going to need as many staff. And I apologize, I know, but having
You
seen
don't
the
need to
reality of it, You know,
We're discussing a very difficult
right,
subject. I mean, we
I would love to keep everybody positioned, but
would love to
The
keep
reality
everything
is-
open too.
Right.
Charles, I agree with that. I've looked at these numbers a multitude of different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and the only way I could see any significant savings happening is to probably close at least one branch and reduce staff.
I
Just
think
saying.
though,
If
we
you
would
wanna get to that number.
prioritize, if we were gonna reduce staff, we'd prioritize reducing the part-time staff. you want to keep your full-time staff.
I mean, that's a
It's not-
decision as
Yeah.
far as, yeah, that's,
And
I don't know.
I mean,
how it
from
all-
what I understand is everybody's short-staffed anyway.
Right.
So,
I mean, I
so
understand
even
that,
if we were to
but
close a branch,
if you close the branch,
you'd be
you,
helping other branches by maybe actually getting them to fully staffed.
however,
But what we could look at closing a branch and closing one day, a month or week, a week.
a week, I think.
And that would be a significant savings, but that will reduce everyone's hours. And keep in mind, full-time staff does not mean it has to be 40 hours a week. It depends on if they're exempt or non-exempt.
We're 35 hours. a week.
35. Okay. So 35.
I just want to throw it out there that I don't think I like the idea of a blackout day. As a consumer of, somebody who comes to the library, it is the most annoying thing in the world when you show up and the library is closed. And that has been my beef with my branch is the Washington Street Library, and I cannot reliably go to that library. I have no idea when it's open. I will never remember. And every Friday I'm there with my books and my children. Anyway, so I think that's going to be hard for the public to understand. And I think that, closing branches is going to be the hardest, but the most, like, your numbers on the board, $6,000, $3,000.
Well, we're not getting there.
Right. So,
And
yes. And
we
raising
looked at,
fees, I mean, it's all,
It's small.
Pennies.
right.
And mind you, that Monday is our busiest day of the week. So closing on a Monday really puts people in a lurch.
better to close on a Saturday.
It would be better to close on a Saturday because we don't get nearly as much traffic
Yeah.
on a weekend.
And also, I mean, I think the LaVale Library, I know it's not accessible to everybody who's living in every parts of the county all the time, but the hours that this library has, the fact that it's here, it's new, it's big, it's got all of these rooms. I mean, I think that is doing a lot for the people in this county. So if we close branches, we can at least say, look, we've got this. And I think the term was flagship. I don't remember, like that's the idea. This is the library. So it's not like you would be leaving people completely in a lurch and, not to be this person, but like when I grew up and this was my library, 9 to 9, baby. 9 to 9 all day.
And can I just say this? At 6:30, we are dead. So I have 3 staff members, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And it's dark outside. I can't leave
Is that the same in the summer?
Once dinner time hits, end game.
That's why the library has changed its hours so often over the last years. When I started working here, we were open 9 to 9, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, and 1 to 5 on Sundays during the school year. And then we went to 10 to 9 because people weren't coming in the morning. And then at 8 o'clock, it was dead. So we started closing at 8 o'clock, and now I'm hearing 7 o'clock, it's dead. So it doesn't seem to make a difference. Whatever time you close, people don't come in that last hour anyway.
So instead of a blackout day, making the hour, not closing at 8, closing at 6. So that's just my 2 cents there. Because I think walking up to a library and it being closed is very frustrating.
It's frustrating if you walk up to a library that's not there anymore.
It's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but
I
how many
put the
people are
numbers-
walking up to the library that we would suggest closing?
Just put the numbers up to remind you if we were to close these specific libraries, what the cost savings would be.
Yeah, but what
You
would be
back
the
up
cost
the
of
salary.
personnel too? What's the cost of personnel who closed those 3?
Yeah, you back up the salaries of the personnel.
Yes,
I mean, I'm seeing 125.
yeah, that's
for
minus
Western
the
Part.
salary. This is just for
Minus,
the bill
okay, and that's.
and the
Yeah,
cost.
because wouldn't some of those part-time staff be utilized in the
Yeah.
other?
We would
They're
absorb, we would probably absorb full-time staff
No.
into the 3 bigger branches.
Well, I'd like to kind of look at what criteria we use for closing branches. So I know those 3 libraries are on the bubble. I kind of looked at the population, and Allegheny County is, I don't know if we're typical or atypical, but all of the majority, more than 50% of the population in Allegheny County is within 15, well, Frostburg, LaVale, Cumberland being the biggest single point of population. And Crescent Town kind of feeds into that too. So that's where at least 50%, maybe 55, 60% of the population is.
Losing more each year.
Throughout the whole county. That's a fact. Every time you look at every single
But people tend to live closer to metropolitan areas.
Yeah, but I'm
because-
saying this is a variable we need to look at when we're considering what we close. As much as I like the idea of having libraries out in more remote areas with lower population, population should be one of the major considerations.
And keep in mind, we have like the option of pop-up libraries and, different outreach events for those areas too. So
Right.
it's not like we're gonna say, okay, we're just gonna cut that part of the county off
Right.
and they don't get
And
anything.
if we close, say, let's just use one library, Western Port. If you close that, maybe we could come up with a system where they could order their books on the website, and we could actually deliver books to a drop spot somewhere.
That's the locker thing, the locker thing.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
keeps
just,
coming
that
back
might
to
be a
my
way
head.
to at least help them still have some services.
Right.
Kinda what
And that was the lockers, I think we discussed last time, those. When I first came onto the library board, they talked about these lockers and I thought, I don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it's more for if that branch is not open, that people can still get their library books when they want them. So like Ally would be still delivering to that area and putting them in the lockers for different people.
I think in Hagerstown, they're in one of the malls. That's where they go. Kind of to your point, the materials department had asked for some information so we could make sure we were getting the right things for the right places. In 2020, there were 1,777 people who are listed as living in Western Port. 153 unique library cards were used there in a year.
Do you think it would be
So,
helpful if
out
I
of the
listed this information?
I mean, if you want to, now, I looked at it today just to make sure I had the right numbers, and it said 1,777 people were the population just of Westernport. In 2020.
I looked online and I got 1,700 people in Westernport. Now that's deceiving because that's.
Yeah, I have 1777.
Is that what you have?
But of those almost 1,800 people, 153 individuals use that library because we're talking about unique barcodes for their library card. So that's kind of
Do you have
where
any other information?
I have one for each branch.
Okay, I just want it, so we have something
Okay.
to compare.
That's Westernport. Who is this? George's Creek just used, now you have to remember too, the Westernport numbers for the unique barcodes probably include people in Piedmont and Kaiser. Yeah, so aren't even in the state. It looks like Lonaconee itself, not counting Midland or any of the other little Pekin or Nickup, whatever you want to call it. Lonaconee has 1,001 people as of 2020. They have 412 unique patrons using their library.
Now I got 984 is the population of Lonaconee.
Do you have more current?
2023.
Okay, yeah, mine are from the 2020 census.
Okay, this is 2023. It's 984.
Okay,
That's Lonaconee. It doesn't include,
right.
that's just the town itself.
Frostburg has, in 2020, a population of 7,027, and they have 1,480 unique patrons. Let me find the rest of them here. Okay, the 2020 population for Levitt is 4,486.
Yep.
They have 3,173 unique patrons using this branch.
How many?
3,173. South Cumberland in 2020 had this is the city of Cumberland. I'll use
Cumberland
that.
is 18,000.
18,736.
Yeah, that's
Close.
20.
So that will go for both Washington Street and
Yeah,
South.
it's like 9,000.
Yes, South had 1,559 unique patrons. And Washington Street had 1,266 unique patrons. And that doesn't, like I said, mean that those people live there. I know someone who used to work here who lives in Pennsylvania. This is her main library.
It just gives us a point of reference.
Yeah.
As to where people are using the library.
What's that number at the bottom? Sorry, the very bottom.
1,266 users at Washington Street. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, how do we understand the impact of the community? Because Westerport, each time I've been there, there's been a lot of people. They may not be the unique users, but again, we're not just talking books. It is a gathering place.
What I'm
for
thinking
this
is,
community.
like these, when you go, it's a special event.
Yeah.
So they could still have those special events pop up libraries,
Okay,
maybe not utilizing the actual library itself, but a different location like the senior center.
Loss of the building does not mean loss of services.
Mhm.
Loss
Loss-
of a building does not mean loss of services.
Does not mean that it's like that.
Okay.
The only thing that,
It's just that it is a community center.
yes.
And are we
correct.
gonna kill the community in Westport or George's Creek? What is the commissioner gonna come and wanna talk to us about? Is he gonna
It's
give us
the
some money?
administrator, probably not. I think he's only gonna tell us that the budget looks very terrible for the next several
So
years.
he's gonna tell us that. Someone not to come and waste our-
I know. But, I mean, that's why we're here. We have to figure out or come up with some kind of plan. And it's not gonna be pleasant. Nothing is. Cutting staff, cutting a library, cutting services is going to affect a lot of people. But on the other hand, we also can figure out how to still serve those consumers. Okay, so Artie's upset that Westernport.
I'm not upset, it's just.
I'm just saying, I'm just using you as an example.
But I am
So,
upset.
I know. I don't lose anything,
Right.
but I also know that we can't sustain what we have
I know.
with the budget we have. So by saying, okay, if we close Westernport and Artie's upset, how can we provide services that Artie still utilizes in that branch? So saying you're not gonna stop services, you're still gonna have those special authors, you're still gonna have your, team events, you can use Bruce Outreach, you can use, the senior center, you can use the fire hall, you can use, I'm not sure what else is down there, but,
That's it.
that's about it. Town hall maybe, I don't even know if they have.
The
It's
elementary
smaller than the
school.
library.
The elementary, I mean, you could utilize different buildings and I'm sure that any one of those buildings could be open for all sorts of events.
I think looking at the statistics that the StoryCorps department does mostly outreach going to different community centers and they get the most attendance. Instead of people coming to the library, we're getting more interaction by
Like,
counting.
story time in the park. And
Yeah, going to schools, going to all these different outreach events is what really gets us engaged.
So I did the percentages on those. I mean, and forgive English major here, but
I-
at Western Point, or Western Point. Western Port, 9%. These are the two lowest ones, and Washington Street, 7%.
When you did Washington Street, did you divide it in half because half should go to South Cumberland, half the total population should go to Washington Street?
No, I just did all of Cumberland.
Yeah, so
So
you
14%.
would do 900
Sure.
instead of 1870.
That's still the second. Right. That's still the second one. So, I mean, George's Creek,
said
40%, Frostburg, 21, LaVale, 71, South, 26. And then if you're doing it, like if you're gonna cut, if you're gonna, right?
Slow down.
Are you going me to slow down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Write it down.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's
So
okay.
Western Port, 9%,
Okay.
George's Creek, 40, Frostburg, 21, LaVale, 71, South, 26, but if you're doing the way he said, it's different. Washington Street, 7, if you're doing the way he said, it's different.
So it'd be 52 and 14 for South.
Yeah, when you say that, like, whenever you said unique, is that, you're talking about people who have library cards,
Yes,
but not people that's actually going there.
right. People that just go in and read the paper, no, that doesn't capture them. And the only thing, as an employee, I will say, I have worked at one time or another at every branch, and we use little clickers to count people that come in the door. And a lot of times, people I've worked with, click, 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 I think I missed some. So you can't use that as what we have
It's
here
not hard
are
to
numbers cards that are actually being used. So just saying people walking in sometimes, so, you know, and I'm not saying they're doing it in a bad way, but they're like, I think I missed some, so they just add clicks. So we probably have fewer people coming into the buildings when the staff are doing it.
George's Creek, you have 153, so that's for Western Port. So 153 people used that, took out a book.
Yeah.
And
That's over the whole year.
over a year.
Yeah, they check out, they're the people that come in all the time and check out things. They have 153 people who do that.
Computer usage too, is that included?
I'm not positive, because we ask for this information as part of, our, you know, are we buying the right things and are we putting it in the right places?
But your numbers only count the number of people who have a card, not how many times they've used that card in a year.
It will, well, I do have that. How many checkouts? If I can find where Western Port is again, I can give you that example.
In the binder, yeah, it says how many
Yeah.
tickets we get per hour.
Yeah.
on average.
Yeah,
Do we have any numbers on the poverty level in those areas?
I look it up online.
I would fear that,
highest poverty.
Western Port and George's Creek probably are the lowest.
Yeah, you're about
And then, once we do that, we're going to decrease access to the people who need it most.
Not necessarily. Okay, you're just
Well,
talking
I
about.
counted that, okay, they'll
You're talking about-
pop-up services, but
Yes.
still,
And we can really look at, and I'm not a proponent for one or the other, but what I'm saying is, you're just looking at a building, okay? And we're talking about high flood insurance, we're talking about fewer users.
Yeah.
We can look at that area and really determine what their needs are and provide services and programs that more are catered to what their needs are.
Yeah,
And
I'm sorry, that came to about 11 checkouts per person
that's
for Western Port
per year.
per year. Yeah.
I think the problem is, it doesn't matter if you reduce the accessibility, if the building's not being used, not being used.
And that building is.
Do you have the rest of
I do. I have to go through again for
We
you.
already
Yeah,
have a
the
graph,
cost is
we already have a
above
graph for this.
the usage.
And if you go by that, it's not very fair because branches like the Vale and Frostburg are open 6 days a week. We have a graph in our binder that says per hour, and per hour, Western Port gets 6 checkouts. GC gets 7, and Frostburg and Washington Street get 13. And then South Cumberland and LaVale are way up there. I don't know what they are.
I think, so a nuclear option is to close every branch but LaVale, right? No, and I'm not, I'm not, listen, I'm not necessarily proposing that, like, I'm not.
And if you wanna get 80,000 out of Washington Street, you need to find where all the admin is. Because the admin works upstairs in Washington Street, there's like 6 staff members.
They're upstairs, yeah, that's what,
So-
87?
That's why Washington Street seems so high, it's because we have 6 staff members upstairs that you
Didn't
still
they-
need to find.
We
Did you say that was 87,000?
We could probably spread them out amongst
Yeah.
the other branches, but there are certain positions that could probably just work from home. Right. Because because we interact via email and phone mostly.
Okay.
But
And
that's
they,
why
and they make visits when they need to. Yeah.
Thanks.
Then we'd have to keep the cell phones.
Or we could just pay a portion of their cell phone bill.
That too. But, I mean, when you're looking at cell phones, when.
We would lose their, possibly their office phones instead.
Right. So those are probably more expensive.
Yeah.
That those black phones are.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Just small.
Does that 47 include the flood insurance?
Yes.
Those numbers include absolutely everything except that. So it includes the materials, it includes the cleaning services, it includes the insurances, everything.
Right.
Do you happen to know when the flood insurance is due? Do you pay it
It's paid once a year.
once a year? Do you know what time of year?
I thought John said something like the end of December, because they were looking at how they
Well,
were
they
gonna
haven't
pay
paid
for
it
it.
yet?
Yeah, how they were gonna pay it for next year.
Because I was gonna say, if they've already paid it, they can get partial refund.
Right.
In fact.
And it depends
Just saying.
on when it's budgeted and how it's budgeted.
Yeah, but if it's already,
I'm not sure.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, we're starting to come to a consensus. These three,
We have not put it to a vote yet.
Right.
We are keeping this on the table.
So I just want to go on record saying, I don't like the idea of closing both George's Creek and Western Port.
agree.
I think if we're going to choose, George's Creek is the newer building.
And there's no flood insurance.
There's no flood insurance, like, to me, that's the obvious
And-
choice between the two.
And I think too that, we can visit the idea of utilizing some of that building for a different purpose, like it being like I said, we had that opportunity for computers and having a computer lab and a workforce solution, bringing partners in to pay for some of that, to utilize that space, and just reducing part of the library collection to things that are, because we can always bring in books that people are requesting, but like the children's books or the most popular could be condensed. And that could also free up some staff.
so what, have we thought about reaching out to the economic development folks in Cumberland and finding out whether or not Westport Library could be leased for us? Is Westport the library's property or the county?
Yes, Washington Street, the county.
LaVale also belongs to the county.
Yeah, the rest of them are not.
But Westport belongs to.
Does George's Creek belong to the promotional council?
Good question.
I think if we were to close George's Creek, we would lose that building back to the town.
Goes back to Lennon.
Yeah.
But too, just like we said, we can make these recommendations and then look at 6 months of planning for other ways to utilize it as a community center. That kind of, to think differently. One of the hardest things for people is change. And anything that I mean anything, just eliminating the cell phones is probably gonna upset. Okay, so anything that we propose is going to be changed and it's gonna be hard to swallow for a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. But we also have to come up with some kind of sustainability so that the library's around for much longer. So we can't do it under budget.
Can I propose a few cuts so that we have time to think on that?
Yes,
and focus
absolutely.
on something else.
Yep.
I have a handful.
Okay, good, because I have a couple.
I did the math, and without reducing staff, if we were to reduce the LaVale operating hours for any reason to match the other larger branches, it would only save us $7,500 because it's just in utilities. That's an option. I know we've kind of discussed that we think that LaVale should keep their hours. I believe the purchase of audiobooks should be cut completely and used as a focus to work on the ebooks, e-audiobooks. I also believe that the South Cumberland security guard should not. be-
I think that's something that they, the friends.
I'm pretty sure this-
No,
the Friends does not.
ACLS pays $18,000.
The Friends
We
Group
pay
does
for the
not
security
pay for
guard.
that.
Yeah, the library does. So,
And he is, because South Cumberland's my branch. John is, or Summit's John now that's there. There's problems down there because we are on the route for all the kids that are going home from school. And they stop there and that's where they get into arguments and they get into fights. And he is really useful for, calming that down and moving that
I
out.
agree, absolutely, I agree.
I worked for a year at South Cumberland Library
Mhm.
with that security guard, and I did not get that experience. It was mostly the staff that had to handle any disputes. He would
I'm just
lay
going
on
by
his
what they're
thumb,
telling me.
And
Because when I'm
I
there, there's nothing going on.
witnessed him target a lot of young Black children. I witnessed in my time.
I've also worked at South Cumberland as their service leader, and I can say, yeah,
Is that, I don't know, because I only see for like an hour.
But if South was able to absorb additional staff, that could also be a deterrent
Mhm.
instead of having an actual security guard
Yeah,
at that. If they had more staff, they could have more control.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I work at South one day a week and I agree with what they just said. John is useful a little bit, not very much. Not
Not
$18,000.
$18,000.
No. And I've also heard of some other incidents where he was not handling his job very professionally.
So why can't we reach out to the 5 prisons we have and get a parolee to come and do security? I mean, we're trying to teach them to return to community society.
I mean, the original pitch for getting him was, that was a branch of all women. And three of those women left, and the other 2 work for the van now, or one works for the van now. And there's a man who's a service leader there, not to be sexist, but that was the original pitch for getting the security guard in the first place, was an all female branch.
The third thing that I had said was just about removing audiobooks.
oh, I'm sorry. What is that? I knew there was something I was.
It's $23,869.80.
And does that mean like CD?
Yes.
We don't purchase those.
It's in our budget. So I
Oh,
don't know
really?
where
Yeah,
that money is
we
going.
don't purchase audiobooks at all anymore.
So what is that?
I'm not sure.
So, okay, so there's $24,000 in our budget dedicated to audiobooks that we don't.
24.
What it's being spent. It's $23,869.
Unless that's the portion that we put towards the statewide, ebooks.
Okay,
That might be that. You'd have to check with Lisa, because I'm not sure.
That sounds familiar to me.
you could have a
Is she on
general cut in collections. That would
Yes.
be equivalent to 25.
Lisa McKinney's in the chat, maybe she could say something helpful. Hi, Lisa. Who knows?
It's Wonder Books.
Oh, the Wonder Books.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Well,
Yeah, they're
How-
listed as
How
audiobooks.
often are those checked out?
Oh,
Oh.
Okay.
Those,
She
those,
loves them. I'm
Yeah.
There's a constant hold on them.
Yes,
Playaways are checked out less often. for sure.
yeah, we stopped purchasing those.
Yeah, those were.
It's wonderful.
If it's Wonder Books, I wouldn't
yeah,
use that, but we should look at a cut in collection.
collections.
And if you're closing 3 branches, there would be a
There's already-
huge cut, yeah.
I would argue, so sorry, a cut in the department as well. Sound wise, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna need as many people too, so.
Don't the numbers already reflect the collections though?
In that, yes, so I was proposing an additional just for audiobooks,
Right, but they're saying
which,
cut
yeah, probably would
collection.
have been split. Yeah.
This is, collections is reflected in these numbers.
Yes.
So, yeah, for sure.
But staff is not in the collection part. So you're not gonna, if you're reducing number of libraries, you're not gonna need as many staff.
That's right.
I don't know what the number is.
There was another hypothetical cut. I had spoken with a member of the Board of Ed, specifically in the IT department, that they gave me an estimate on how much they think it would be to outsource IT.
Perfect.
And they said $30,000 to $45,000, because they already handle our servers. Before I even spoke to them, I divided the number of buildings that they already service and then multiplied it, adding in hours, and it was about 30,000. Then I estimated a 15,000 service fee. I just don't know the legalities of partnering with the Board of Education as a public library. I don't know if there's any kind of ill crossover.
And to share, I work in the public schools. I have a child in the public school. The IT is slammed.
Yeah. They might not necessarily be available in the evening when we're open.
But at least it's a
Saturday.
number we're working.
It's a number,
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
but it is,
because I mean, Allegheny Computer, shoot. They all do outsourcing IT, and I don't really know what the needs are, what is being done on a daily basis.
We don't really get an explanation of that at any point.
And we haven't, I don't feel like we.
is that something we could request? Is that, I just feel like it's such a
So let's just
crucial.
say, currently, that'll save us 30, approximately. If we delete IT and outsource. Because it's $60,000 for salary.
and for 3 branches, maybe that position could even go part-time. It wouldn't need to be, because it's only 3 buildings now, it doesn't need to be as robust. If we decided to go back. But even if we cut 2 buildings, it's still, we could probably do more of a flex schedule.
Is there a computer IT person sitting at this table? It just makes me very anxious. Like, I mean, I don't know a lot, but like everything, like, when that thing didn't work and then somebody had to come save that thing. And, I mean, it's just all.
It
And
makes
then
me
what?
nervous when you get rid of a service that you don't understand yourself.
Yes.
Ally,
It
the
could be
person you
an
got was she the
on-call
IT
position as
person?
well. If we do
No.
have a problem, we could.
Being in education, we don't always get to call the IT person. We have to go do the first before they'll even take a ticket.
Ally can do it.
The savings for the collections staff, that's the cataloger, right?
Mhm.
The lowest salary for that is 36,563. So we have a number there.
Thank you. We had talked about memberships before, and that's like a $2,000 savings. It's not a whole lot, but. And that's not. This thing really wants. No. Feed me. That $2,000 is just the membership, not to belong to the library association.
I might have missed it. Was my old position, the salary for that, was that ever cleared up about
Yeah,
where
that
that
was-
money went?
I think in the email with the positions and same time we got the retirement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a list of current positions that are being paid. List of hire dates, the retirement policy, and the notes that I had taken from. Okay. So we have an hour left. We have to do some math. Who's gonna do that math?
Tell me what math you would like to be math. Need a problem.
Let's take these. Deduct these, then add 100,000 for just some.
So we're adding the
We're
6,000.
taking away 6,000, 3,000, 581, 2,000, adding 100,000 for the first phase in of getting.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm subtracting them from what?
Just from what we're gonna total,
Oh, okay.
just like what we're gonna save
So I
by
should.
eliminating.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're
I know,
saying
I'm not,
like an English
articulating.
major. Okay.
So
it's in here,
Uh-huh. I understand.
coming out there.
the $100,000 over 3 years, it's 100,000 a year.
Yes,
And the livable wage phase in, that's gonna be on top of the annual increase, right?
There is an actual.
So it's gonna be on top of it.
Mine's not.
Yeah, right.
That's not.
You would add the 6.
yes and no, okay, because what's gonna have to happen, this is just an estimation, okay? What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to look at all of the positions, depending upon if we determine to get rid of any of these, where these are gonna go. Because that's gonna change the whole structure. Some people may go part-time, some may go full-time, and depending upon what their job duties are, pop-up library, outreach person, whatever, it's gonna change our structure just a little bit. So we're looking at this 100,000 based on the 290 that we determined to get what we currently have to a livable wage. And we're gonna phase that in over 3 years. So it's gonna have to be like a calculated thing, which none of us are gonna be able to do tonight. But we can have that done for our presentation, and that will give us a very specific number.
So for that post-it, subtracting the top 3 from the 100,000, we would need $88,419.
Yes.
To find.
Yes.
Plus the 120, right?
Plus the original 100.
Plus the original 100 and.
So we're really trying to get 220.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just ballparking the second post-it and the one behind you, that's about 100,000. With the 3 branches, we're at 280,000 in savings.
Are we wanting to close 3?
Well,
Well,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, let's
looking at-
do this first.
Yeah.
You've got this part.
No, she did it.
Okay.
I gave it.
Can we do the 18,000 for security guard?
But that's on top of What you
Yeah,
already developed here.
that's, these are minuses,
Okay,
okay? This is a minus. And if we are we outsourcing IT?
Well, we did, nobody really determined or agreed on any of those.
So, let's talk about this. We need, in order to get a significant savings, we're gonna have to go. I mean, that's, we're not gonna get it through 2,000, 6,000, 3,000. The other thing was, we had talked about John paying for his health insurance instead of that being part of the salary. Correct? Wasn't that something that we had?
Ally, put that up.
Yeah, so do we know what the cost of that would be?
Is
that
it family
included?
insurance? It
No,
was, he doesn't have
It's
family.
individual now.
Is that
Is that
contract? Is that part of his contract with?
Yes.
It's just individual, he'd only be paying like $50 a month.
Yeah.
But is the insurance coverage part of his employment contract? The contract would have to be renegotiated. That was-
Yes.
I mean, it's not something we just
Yeah,
said.
I didn't wanted to
Right.
know what that figure would be, because I know that we said that, and I was thinking of from before, what our proposals were, and,
As an individual, it isn't real expensive. It might be
The
$50,
library-
$60 a month.
The library portion.
Yeah, the library, the library pays the chunk of it. The staff pays
And if,
5%, 6%.
and if it's part of his contract, that's something you can't touch in.
Yeah.
It would have to be renegotiated.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we can always recommend to the board. Look at that.
Yeah.
5,000.
So,
If we're gonna, I think we should vote. I think we should talk about, one thing you should be writing down, because multiple people brought it up, is wage caps on anyone that makes more than $60,000. They should not be getting a raise the same as everyone else gets a raise who's making less than the wage. If you're making more than $60,000, you do not need help the same as a person who's out here making $20-something thousand. It is ridiculous to assume we need $100,000 when so much of that is going to go towards people that are already making way more than the wage.
So currently, only one person makes more than $50,000. Everybody else is 58 or less.
Well, IT,
Is
He makes
58.
59.
okay, well, he would get like a $2,000 raise as opposed to, much more than that, you know?
Yeah,
And 60,000 just an arbitrary number that one of us had brought up in the past, I don't remember who. Could
So
be
I,
different.
I think what you want to do though, then is encourage retirement.
That's another idea.
Like, instead of saying, let's check it, like, I think you want to encourage retirement and encourage, like, instead of making a million little rules, you, like, I mean, I don't, but I mean, I think there's a person that you're saying makes more money than everybody else. And I mean, I feel like you guys gotta say what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
You know, you're not saying what you want to say. And I think you gotta say it.
What I want to say is that I think that if we're talking about $100,000
Uh-huh.
for raising wages,
Annual increase, right?
you're right. Some of that, I don't really know, goes towards people who make $58,000 a year,
Is it like a
$120,000 a year.
5% increase across?
no, I thought when you were talking about that, I was thinking of the people that make the minimum wage, that we were going to.
That make those a little bit anyway.
Right, right,
Yes,
that we were gonna
yes.
increase their, right, we were
Yes,
gonna increase their
yes.
salary.
If you're getting,
Yeah, not the people that
No.
are salary.
if they are at a certain wage and it's livable, we're not touching that. We're getting a livable wage.
Are you
not at a
certain?
wage.
yeah, when John gave us that number, do we know that that's how he calculated it, or were
Yeah.
they also calculating?
Because previously,
small
anytime
incremental wages for themselves?
entry level person got a wage, that same percentage was applied to high.
Was
level.
across the
The board,
across
it's
the
across the
board.
a flat rate.
So I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Well, that's the cost
Of living, right, right, everybody gets that.
Okay, you guys have all heard about the leadership team.
Yes.
I am the only person who is not on the leadership team who makes a living wage, and I've been here 33 years. So I make over what everybody else is making, but that's because I've been here 33 years.
I think 33 years each.
Yeah, now I make more than the living wage.
What is the living wage?
That's what I'm trying to find. 'cause
Thirty
where is that?
something, 36, yeah. I don't make a lot more, but I do make more than that.
But to tack on to what you were saying, what we're trying to say is, I do not think that the library system can afford $125,000 for an executive director.
Salary cap can also be temporary.
Right, until the county gets in a better financial
The library
position.
system.
The library system.
Sustainable.
And we did bring what you said up over one of our previous meetings, $125,000 for a director. Are we getting $125,000 worth of service? If that position was eliminated and rehired, I mean, a whole lot lower.
I would disagree with that, depending on data with other directors of libraries. I'm sitting here saying, I don't know why we've allowed you to take all these years to be able to make above the living wage, but take out John, but the executive director, you're not gonna be able to get somebody for less than $100,000.
I don't think that.
Oh, you don't think, oh.
I was gonna say, this is
Okay.
Allegheny County.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how large the population is, how many branches you're running.
Right.
Well,
Like, I can see running 6 branches in a much higher population for $125,000 a year is a good wage for a executive director position. We're already looking at cutting branches, so why would we still be paying that amount of money for a continuously decreasing population as well?
Well, I like the salary cap for 2 or 3 years.
I agree. Annual increases limit,
Yeah.
to these people who are not making livable wage.
Well, at least 50. Well, not many people make over 50.
Just people in leadership
Yeah.
and not all of them.
Yeah, I say only a few of them.
Just as
If you want,
devil's advocate for a professional librarian, an academic librarian, you're not advocating for the profession when you are decreasing someone's salary, you're decreasing benefits. I feel like we need to be working to build everyone else up instead of bringing one position down. It just, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good.
What I was saying was that we don't increase their wages. That number is for increasing wages. I'm saying maybe it could be smaller if we didn't increase wages, people over 55,000.
So they should be.
So-
I'm not saying we should not decrease their wages.
That's
Of people who are not making a livable wage.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably 2/3 of that list of, positions. Is what we're looking at, about 2/3.
So if you go 36,000, there are the program specialist is at 35,271, and the cataloger is at 30, above 36. So it's 1, 2, 3. 18 people
Okay.
are above the
How
living
many
wage.
people do we employ? And while you're at it, can we figure out what that? Come on, Artie. You haven't been to meetings.
Did you want me to count all the employees?
Yeah.
No, somebody, you would,
How many?
somebody might know how
32,
many
I think.
employees.
32.
32.
Something like that.
See,
I don't, there can't be 18 above the living wage.
that's,
What's the little?
that's, that includes the part-time folks.
18, yeah. Yes. it includes part-time.
18 make kind of complicated.
Okay, so how part-time though, you got,
Yeah,
they're not gonna be.
yeah,
They're
they're
not
not
gonna
gonna
get the wages, they're not gonna work.
and that's mostly part-time.
Yeah. 4
Yeah,
days a week.
13 people that are not part-time,
that are under the,
that are
Okay, Renee. That's why I didn't come last.
Because you were getting.
Oh, that's right, I did get an award.
Are we counting part-time people? Okay,
So we're talking
You're
13.
full-time, you're
11, on that
36.
attachment John
Well,
said.
there, in 30 years.
29 full-time. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
29 full-time people?
No,
32.
full-time people,
The list, that was good.
You know everything.
Delivery.
13 full-time that are under
Oh,
$37,000. 1, 2, 3.
29 full time.
16 are over. And there are 1, 2, 3, 8 part-time.
So how many employees do you have in the 3 branches that you're put around the table for possible closure? How many employees do that?
Westernport has 1 full time.
Washington,
Street has 2 full times. Georges Creek has 2 full times.
What was that? Georgia Street?
Georgia Street has two.
But then at full-time at Westernport,
Oh.
she's there 3 days and then someplace else for the rest of the
Gotcha.
week, right?
and the only
There's
reason I
one-
bring it up is
She-
you
4 days.
4 days and then 1 day, I mean, so it's not,
wouldn't have to close all 3 branches if you. Okay. It's a simple math,
Okay, but
and you don't want to.
I just want to make sure that if we're talking about, we have to talk apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And my understanding is if we cut staff, like you're saying, instead of closing branches,
Oh, no, I'm
No.
not saying you don't close branches. I'm saying, because you have a problem staffing your
Yeah.
libraries as it is. But I'm saying maybe some of the people in that head count.
Be absorbed in other libraries.
Well, some will be absorbed in other libraries and some you just have to say,
Well, that
they
doesn't
don't, there's
include,
not a job there. I'm sorry, but you have to.
right?
bite the bullet.
And that's what we said was, we were looking at our list of, positions. And if you take away 3 libraries, what are those people gonna do? They're gonna be absorbed in other places that need staff. But that's not all.
I could say it shouldn't be all of them because you're looking for ways to save money and your
But we also wanted
salary.
to make sure that we have enough staff to serve the areas that we're.
Understood. Some of them can be absorbed, but some of them you just have, the head count has to be reduced. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
practically
totally
speaking,
understand.
You know, even if you just close 1 branch and, you don't do anything with that head count.
But there's gonna be a savings because those 5 positions, if that's what we're talking about, will be able to absorb some of the work of the part-time folks.
Yes.
So we're gonna be able to
as I
cut.
say, there's at least 3 part-time people that are involved in those branches, so.
3 each or 3 for all those 3?
There's 1 for each.
Oh, okay.
There's 2 for West.
2 for
Williams,
West?
28 hours.
I have an extremely probably stupid question because
No question is stupid.
I tried to make logic of it on my own time. So if we close branches and somehow save 120,000 from that, we no longer need 120,000 to keep those branches open. So wouldn't we be just eliminating that 120,000 deficit forever?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but then.
And 120 is to keep status quo. So if we eliminate those, then we don't have to
Like status quo.
worry about it. Status quo is gone.
but that, the savings from that and what's on the chart behind you would help us get to the 100,000 for livable wage.
Yes.
So it's these 3 in that list and this.
So I've done some math, It could be wrong, but I only identified 11 that were under 36. Not 13.
I've
Are
got
you counting full part-time?
under 36. We've got program specialist programs. Well, let me show you this.
So that there's some that's on the bubble right there.
Yeah, there's some on the bubble that were 36.
Yeah.
5, 6,
Yeah.
but those are over 36. They're 36 and change.
Right.
So I didn't include those.
Okay.
Okay, so I took the difference. I did 36 minus the salary for all those 11 positions and added the differences. That's $52,536 to bring everybody up to 36,000.
We're way high on.
So what would you pay?
Okay, so
branch
that, I'm sorry, say that again.
I just did everybody.
Right,
at
I'm just saying, because that eliminates the branch manager position. And everybody would just be, there would have to be a restructure.
That's why I'm wondering if the.
Yeah.
And that
Not
could-
with
and that could
every
be-
single person, no matter how much.
Moving up,
it's getting
right.
Yeah.
a hefty.
It's not just, like, that's what I was trying to say. There's no way it's just moving people up to living wage, move people up to living wage and then moving everyone else up to compensate for that change.
Right.
Because then service here next same service specialists.
That's
And-
ideal. That doesn't always happen.
Right, but
I'm
why
not
would,
saying-
why
Yeah.
would somebody remain a service leader with that extra responsibility
I-
without that pay? So you might lose.
You might.
No, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
The state has done that several times where they've shifted salary.
Right, I'm saying, but if we had a restructuring, then
I'm
maybe it's
surprised
one.
people don't hate me for being the lowest person on the totem pole. But got raised up.
If we only had 3 branches, maybe you just have one supervisor for 3 branches.
I think that's why I put a salary cap at a higher than just the living wage. as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
But to me, these are issues that we're not to solve.
Right.
Right.
No,
So we don't
But
really need
I
to.
really think we need to make a recommendation that it needs to be reevaluated.
Right.
And people who are not at a livable wage need to get up to a livable wage.
Mm-hmm.
So I think working with this 100,000,
Mm-hmm.
it is good because we're gonna get the people who are not at livable wage to livable wage. And then the ones that should be making more because of the responsibility and the position in which they hold will also get an increase. And that 100,000 might cover it.
So I did some other math. Everything that we've come up with, the 6,000 for the vehicles, the cell phones, the memberships, actually, I didn't put in the memberships, so that's 103. Reducing LaVale, the security guard, the 1 cataloger position and outsourcing IT, that's 103,644. Now, if you close Washington Street and Westernport, that's 127,682.
So this one and this one.
Yeah.
Is
127,682. So there's your 220 and change.
What if you do
231.
George's Creek? and-
Yeah, let's do George's Creek.
Do
and-
Georgia
West-
Street and
little more.
Westernport? I mean, wait, all 3?
No,
No,
Western Port
George's
and George's
Creek.
Creek.
Not what?
Two options,
Yeah.
Washington Street and
So
George's
you're gonna
Street.
be right at around 100. 53 plus 47.
Wait, let me.
Which one was the building they said?
George's Street. No,
George's Creek.
But is that the one in the?
no.
No, Western, yeah, Western First to 47.
So we have closed Washington Street and
And Western,
Western
it would be how much?
127,682.
And if we close Washington Street and George's Creek, it would be, what?
Oh, no, George's Creek and Western.
No, Washington.
Washington.
What's
we're
Washington?
gonna do, I'm gonna break them all.
Let's do all the options, yeah.
Okay.
Run the options.
Okay, Washington Street and Georgia Street.
Can I ask where we got the number for the cost to reduce Western Port? Cause when I looked at it, it was 65,785.
Does that include salary?
There were no positions involved in that. That was just Westernport minus positions.
I don't know, we did that math last, so.
And if I was involved.
Double check our math.
All right, I'll
For
double
which,
check.
So
for
What
which
page are
one?
you looking on?
I am looking at the expenses by branch. Westernport's
Yeah, this-
total is $125,
Okay.
$125,031.24 minus the wages and
Benefits.
FICA, benefit taxes, which is 54,156.98 and $5,088.
According to this document right here, that breaks down the collections, events, maintenance, marketing, security, supplies, technology, utilities, and wages and benefits of each branch. It'd be 65,000 to close Westernport.
No.
That does not include
Oh,
the $77,000 for wages and benefits.
65,000 what?
Yes, you had everything up on this page for West, except for the bottom, one, just the 77.
Oh, so we just did this minus this, so something was not added correctly.
Yeah, looks like it. This bottom number here must be incorrect.
Yeah, it must be,
Because
because
I
that
knew
minus
that
that.
Westernport was more.
Not correct, yeah.
47.
Yeah, no, the total for West, the bottom was incorrect. That's probably why we got the incorrect number of 40 something.
Okay.
So 65,783 is what it should be for West.
Okay, so how much would all three of these be then? Somebody give me the correct.
We need 208. Is that right? We can get 208. I got 208, 208,000.
I got 198.
I was gonna say, I think you're, it's about an 18,000.
198.
One,
I didn't carry the one.
Yes, it's majors.
944.
944. My fourth grade teacher can saw something in my head.
did we,
We're just going really fast.
Combination
You gotta
there.
cut yourself.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
so what's the combination now? So you got one.
So this is different then.
Right.
So somebody give me the Washington Street and Westernport. I need new numbers.
It's about 145, give or take a few dollars.
Washington Street and Georgia Street.
134.
And Georgia Street and Westernport.
Give me a second, like 108-ish, 109.
No, 118, 119.
Yeah. What you
119.
said.
That's right.
So those three are options that we're combining with the 103 here?
Assuming we're able to do everything on
Yeah.
that board, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a few of the options on that board are more hypotheticals, especially outsourcing IT. We don't
Yeah,
actually.
we don't have.
I would potentially just. go
But also that 290,000 for increasing everyone to, Emily, what did you say? It was 50, it was actually 52,000 to get everyone to
But that's not including
bumping people.
bumping, so.
But that's a
But just
far
for the-
shot from the
the minimum.
290,000 we
Yes.
talked
Yeah.
about last time. 52 is, I realize it's gonna be more than 52, but it's far shot
But-
290,000.
That's the minimum.
So is that, so we're talking maybe 100,000 for the 3 years to get them, or is 52 just to get them in 1 year?
1 year.
In 1 year, okay, so we're not talking 3 years, we're talking 1 year?
1 year is 52,000 just to get everyone up to above target line and not adjusting them above, which is obviously not the goal, but you want service leaders to make more than service specialists and so on.
Okay, so how many service leaders are there?
Right now, there's 6.
But if you
But
close
if we
branches,
cut 2 branches, then there would be, so let's say everybody gets a $5,000 bump. I'm making up numbers, $3,000, then that's still
I think
A lot
that's
less
a
than-
question that we can request of the leadership team is to do that calculation, but also show us what they're giving each position as a raise.
Right, because it's usually percentage based.
So
That's what makes it such a high number.
let's start narrowing down and taking votes.
What was that?
Just,
Top number again? Okay, thank you.
when we're looking at numbers, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the meeting. The first meeting on slide 13 was where we got the 47,000 for Western Port. So there's different figures on different reports that we've gotten.
We have a much more accurate report that's provided by the financial administrator
Right, but,
that actually
We're-
breaks down the exact costs.
right, but what I'm saying is, I didn't see anything that said this takes place of this. I'm suspicious on what I'm getting from the leadership team, is my point.
I can make you a copy of this one that
I mean,
actually,
I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying,
What he's
this
saying
is, you
is,
know,
we're getting different information depending on who you're asking.
yes,
Right.
I would,
I mean, it just kind of, that's where we got the 47,000.
So you want a new total for the three options? So George's Creek and Westerport to include that number plus the 103 is 22264.
what am I talking?
We're combining those three options.
Okay.
Okay, Washington Street, Westerport is 224,686.
This is with that,
Yes, with the,
I got it now.
with the 103.
I wasn't following.
Oh, no problem.
I'm sorry. Okay, wait a minute, let me get down here.
So
Okay.
Washington Street and Westerport would, to include the 103 would be 224,687. Washington Street and George's Creek would be 237,644.
Okay.
And George's and George's Creek and Westerport would be 222,644. For those, yes. Okay. I mean, I'll be back. Trustee Lee. Minute, trustee Lee. Okay.
I'm like, huh? That's talking to me. Okay. Well, let's, so are we, over here, are these three saying we're definitely for this?
What are the membership? I sort of,
The memberships are,
same, similar with your comment earlier. We don't want to make, like, the profession is an important profession. Like, we love librarians.
it was
Let's not say
Rotary.
freelance.
It's in one of our documents.
I think those were the individual membership.
Yeah, those were the Rotary, the something, it was not like the Association of American Libraries.
Is it the state one then, American?
That's
Yeah.
not in there. We get that through the Western Maryland Regional, so.
It's like local membership that I have is available on it. I don't have anything extra.
No, well, but
I have
you
personal
have to go
opinions that are.
get it. Make an effort.
Okay, so we're all with using the two vehicles,
Yeah.
eliminating cell phones.
Yeah.
Yes. Now,
Are you saying those are things we're voting on?
yes.
Got it.
We have one dissenting vote on cell phones, so why don't we hold an actual like formal vote?
Yeah, I think she's just putting things we're going to vote on.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna put them all over there. I just want to kind of get so we all know what we're voting on. Memberships, right? Livable wage. Let's go back to that one.
That's an add-in.
Reducing LaVale's hours.
Yeah.
You want to vote on?
What
Want to vote
hours
on
is it
security?
do?
Yeah,
From 10 to 7,
To, what?
I think 10 to 7.
from 10 hours to 7 hours.
Oh,
we're talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah, per day.
reducing collection staff. I think this is if we close the branches, we would eliminate one of these, right? So let's, put a question mark there. IT outsourcing, I think we're gonna vote to get more info.
Yeah.
Closing branches, we want to look at all of the options.
And then the other things would be recommendations, right?
Yes.
So, Renee, the process now, we're gonna be voting tonight. We're gonna finalize that at the next meeting. It's gonna be forwarded to the trustees at that point.
No,
Oh, no, the trustees are getting it
Yeah.
in January. This
Yeah.
is our last meeting?
well, unless we want to have a meeting with
With-
Jason Beck.
Okay,
who's
so the next
attorney.
step is take it to the trustees?
Yeah.
Okay, after tonight,
Yes, that's the January
okay,
meeting.
okay.
Are we ready? Okay.
Let's do the easy ones first.
Yep, we do. The two vehicles.
I think-
Hands up if you agree.
You want us to build a bill?
Yes, you are
Okay.
part of the committee.
Okay.
You are not a trustee right now. You're part of the committee.
Unanimous.
Okay, so this is a vote for yes. So,
I think we have to make sure we're getting the votes from Zoom too.
somebody else got the attention of that.
Oh,
Which I guess Carol, you have to.
We're watching you, Carol.
People on the street, could you raise your hand if you're supporting?
There's a little hand thing you should be able.
Oh, she's
She's
supporting.
got it.
Okay.
And who's Catherine?
No.
Regina Spiker should be.
Oh.
She's
Yeah.
leadership.
Who's a Paula user?
We don't know.
Well, if you want to mute and vote, they can. If they don't want to, they don't.
Cell phone elimination. Raise your hand if you're in favor. Okay, it's almost, there's two people. What about up there?
She voted yes.
Oh, Regina said yes to the first
Okay. What
one.
about cell phone?
She just wrote yes.
Okay.
Well, you can make that like,
So this is a majority.
you can make that cell phone / black phone because we don't know what situation we're gonna be in and
Yeah.
depending which branches get.
We
Okay.
can pull up the.
What do we have?
There
No,
should be a
membership.
way to,
Yeah,
to show a little hand raised.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Or hand.
there we go.
There you go. What's the next one?
The memberships. Eliminate memberships, not the association, the library one, it's the individual ones.
I'm undecided, I don't.
Then
know
don't
that.
raise your hand. If you're undecided, don't raise your hand. So we have. Okay. What was behind two?
Regina says yes.
Okay, yes, that's the majority, yes.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Depending on what we decide to do with closing branches,
Yes.
we could be over what we need.
And we can always eliminate stuff. I mean, if these memberships are dire need, and we're looking at, you know, somebody's gonna probably vanish off the face of the earth, not renewed, then we'll put it back up. I mean, 2,000.
I guess what I'm asking is, I'm not sure what I'm voting on.
Right.
It's a
Cause I
non,
don't,
You have to look at the budget line, it says, and all I can remember is Rotary. And then
Maybe
there's
Lisa
like-
knows.
well, no, that's not what I mean.
Oh.
That is something that I would say, if we really needed it, then let's get rid of it. But if we're gonna be making up, like, if we've got more than what we need, more than the 220, then I think we should keep it.
I think we're also trying to build a sustainability
Yeah,
plan.
because-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went out this week, and we don't know where that money came from the paper. Because we have been depleting our savings over the past
Yeah.
4 years, and there's like nothing there for a rainy day. It is storming and hurricaning right now.
I get that. Then we should make our,
We also
more than
don't
220.
really know what the final budget line item is. So if we keep these on the table as being eliminated,
okay,
we are looking at something that's, what we're saying by eliminating this is that these are not necessary. Okay, the reducing 2 vehicles, the other vehicles are not necessary. They're a luxury.
okay,
And another thing,
Cell
it's not gonna go into effect, right? Like, this is a suggestion.
right.
So once it goes to the board,
Right,
they
this
can be like,
has to be voted, but we need to give an idea.
So we're voting for what we believe is not necessary.
Right,
It's a
not
luxury.
Mhm.
Okay,
that's
Yeah. Okay,
thank
where
you
we
for
at?
clarifying.
Here. Security.
Oh, this is to get rid of.
Yeah, this is to eliminate. Okay. Reducing Lavelle hours. Raise your hand. Majority, yes. Um, the other two, let's table for right now until we discuss closing of branches, because this is where our majority of our money is. So,
are you gonna talk about just closing one and then do groups of 2, or?
I mean, that's an option too, just.
I guess, should we start the vote with closing 1 versus closing 2 and see how the majority?
How about close 1, close 2, close 3?
which one?
So I
Yeah,
think, no, I think 1, 2, 3,
I
and
know what
then
you're
we
saying.
figure out which
We need
1,
to.
2.
All right, so raise
think
your
we
hand
should
if
have a-
you're in favor of closing at least one.
well,
At least,
At least one.
maybe we should have 7 options. Washington Street, George Street, Weston Port, Washington Street, Western Port, Washington Street, George Street.
No, 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 no,
Western
no,
Port.
no.
Yeah. In favor of closing 2 branches. Okay? In favor of closing 3 branches. Okay, so we're at 2. Now, which 2?
I guess, do we want to vote on
Hey,
the
just-
option
Let-
now?
Doing that too.
Yep, we're gonna have to do down here. Let's vote on Western Port and Washington. Raise your hand if you're in
Can
favor.
we
Yes.
do each one? Like, because those are the 3 on the
Western.
cutting block, right, so like, raise your hand if you want to cut this one, right, and then see how many for each one.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Before we do that, though, if we look at doing one of the 2 for and Washington Street, we're not taking all the services from that area. If we,
Yeah, keep in mind that even though the brick and mortar we're voting to close, does not mean services
Right.
will not continue for
Right.
those areas.
but if we do Georges Creek and Western Port, we're taking all the brick and mortar from that end. Where the other 2 options,
That's what we're gonna look at who is in favor of closing Western Port.
Okay, I'm writing down some names.
What's your hand?
Please.
wait, all right, we got,
What time? She's coming, she's coming.
Okay, so that's a yes, yes.
It'd be better if they didn't just say yes. You want to put some words in there so you know what you're voting on.
Yeah.
All right.
Regina's fight.
I got the community volunteer of the year for Allegheny County. So I get mine.
Okay.
Nope.
Nice try.
I think Regina voted for closing Western Port.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Carol
Carol said
I-
no.
for Western Port.
Yeah.
Still majority is West.
But can we count? I think,
You want it,
like, I would like to know how many,
Let's,
Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea, the actual.
Some people might vote twice too, right?
right, I plan on voting three
Vote
times.
on another one too, right?
let's see. Okay, in favor of closing Western Port. Raise your hand. Somebody can. Including people on.
If you're in the chat, maybe say, yes, Western Port, no, Western Port. So that we, because there are a lot of ups and downs. And it's gonna
12
confuse
plus
us.
whoever's in the chat.
No.
That was just somebody yelling.
It's like, what, Carol? I said no.
Carol said no. Regina said yes.
Scroll down a little bit.
Renee, do you get a vote?
Oh, yeah, do you get a vote?
Only for a time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be.
She's like the vice president.
Yeah, I'm,
She's just a tiebreaker.
I'm gonna be hard enough tonight.
Okay, Regina.
Keeping this straight. We have a
13.
13.
Don't look at
me, I was, you know.
My God.
She's in the
We
chat.
need like a,
Georgia Street, raise your hand. Anything, Georgia? Somebody, who's counting? You're usually my counter.
Here you down, 9, and then whatever Regina says. You just scroll. I'm taking notes, Ian's.
Carol says yes, Regina
Yeah.
says no.
10.
Okay, total.
Washington Street, raise your hand.
What was the question?
What was the question? Closing Washington Street,
12, and then scroll.
scroll.
What is it on auto scroll?
Well, you're sitting right there.
I thought it was on. So Regina said no, and then,
No, Regina,
so 13,
13.
until here, Carol 14.
So if we look at our two highest, Western Port and Washington, that's 145,000. Just closing that.
If you get rid of the staff upstairs. If you find another place for the staff upstairs.
With the county owning Washington Street, how would that work with closing Washington Street? I don't know if we have some kind of contract with them that says we have to be there or what.
Well, at this point, what are they gonna do? You wanna give us the money to keep it up? We'll keep it up.
Yeah.
But this committee has
them.
worked hard to determine what is best for the county.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have a choice.
No, it's like the school system, the school,
Right.
the county Board of Education doesn't own the buildings, county does, so when they close a building, it goes back to the county or the city.
I think it's important that we keep one of those two in that end of the county.
Yep.
I mean, my opinion was George's Creek. because-
And keep in mind, the county may cut us again. I mean, that's a very good possibility. So, you know, at least keeping 53,000, we still have that to look at. And then also maybe making part of that building, if not, you know, looking at options of bringing some workforce development to that area. I mean, there are options. There's lots of options. We just don't need to determine what they are right now. Okay, so we are talking about.
Closing, West,
Okay,
closing, we're talking about closing
So-
Georgia Street in Washington.
am I,
No, that's not what I'm saying.
now, since we have, these are our two highest options, so our recommendation is to close these two branches, keep Georges Creek open with options. Is that what we're recommending? Please raise your hand.
I would say we bring those three up and then leave it to the board to figure out, give the rationale behind, and then they make that decision. Because
Which one is the one that has the high flood insurance?
And which one is the one that has the forced income in this county?
All of them.
All of them.
I don't think you can say.
It's Alameda County.
Yes.
Question, because the flood insurance came up, if the library system owns Westernport, don't we still have to maintain flood insurance?
We don't own that, I don't think.
Even if we own it, if we don't occupy it, it doesn't have to happen.
If you don't pay a mortgage, you don't have to carry it.
Just like if you owe money on a car, you have to have, comprehensive and collision, thank you. It was something. It's all words.
And I just
And they're
have
all
to
running
make-
together.
I just have to make one more comment about Washington Street. And I think of all the branches, Washington Street has the greatest growth potential right now. Because we have a new mall, we have Allegheny County, where the school was, they're gonna be putting houses there, there will be people that will be on the west side of Cumberland that would need library services. And I just think that there's growth potential there, so it would be a shame.
Well, the other thing too, it's part of Allegheny County history. That's the library we all grew up. It was the
Yes,
first
thank
library,
you.
that was the one we went to when we were kids.
Yes.
That's right.
And
And
that's,
if
Found my first Nancy Drew books there.
if we're gonna talk about
it
Washington
is,
Street,
it is.
I'm a little biased, because I'm the manager.
Yeah.
But Washington, George Creek and Westernport have 6 and 7 checkouts per hour, Washington Street's 13, those two branches combined. That's on page 8 of your binder, and then on page 11 of your binder. Westernport has 3 people per hour on average, George Creek has 4, and then Frostburg and Washington Creek has 6. If you go by hour, Washington Street is literally the same level as Frostburg.
With Frostburg, thank you, that was
Yeah,
exactly.
which is
what
the
I
major
thought.
branch, it's 6.
And
That's,
And so that's why I don't feel comfortable saying we recommend closing these two. I think we say these are the three, this is how we voted, but I think there needs to, I think somebody else needs to think more about it. I don't think we're the be all end all, because you make a great point about the downtown. And you make a great point about, we don't want to just cut off one half of the county, but I think that's what the board is for. And so I think we give them that information and we say, good luck.
Well,
You're
you have
just
done that because Artie and I are on the board.
So am I.
So now it's
What's her
time.
face?
Now, and I know you got a lot of pressure from the West Side group and other folks. But I think, ultimately,
Ultimately, no matter
that's what you have
what
to
we
figure out.
decide, closing a branch is going to,
We're not,
No, absolutely.
not gonna please everyone.
no.
It's also.
And none of us want.
It's got, I mean,
It's
we have to, with numbers like this, it's it's sad, but we've also maintained more libraries than other counties our size. And I think it's time for us to, take a reality check.
Yes.
We're not getting any more money. There's no way to bring in that kind of money, with hoagie sales or book sales. I mean, it's just not gonna happen, so. What I will do is I'll take pictures of all this, try to sum up what we're saying as recommendations. I will, send it out to everyone to get, please give me your feedback, because it's very difficult when I'm hearing so much and I want to include it all in some way, shape, or form. So, but I do want to have a meeting with Jason Bennett just to hear what he has to say, because he's the one with the money. he's listening to the commissioners, and we're looking at closing branches. It's going to affect people in the county. Okay, so, and it's not on us. It's on them. They are the ones that are cutting the funds. And doesn't look like it's gonna increase at any time soon. So, you know, we've taken a lot of time and effort in trying to determine what is best for the county. And I know everyone has a personal opinion, but I think you guys have all done a fantastic job of really looking at our task as a whole and keeping our personal views aside and doing what's best for the library system and the county as a whole. So I appreciate everyone's time and effort. More than you can imagine. It's made my life much easier than I thought it was ever going to be. I thought, why did I even say I'd do that? But I do appreciate each and every one of you. And I will let you know when that meeting will be so that if you are available and would like to attend, I will even make sure that there is a Zoom option so that you can at least listen in if, you know, or if you want to ask some very critical questions on, you know, did they consider having to close branches when they cut across the board and said the library got cut $120,000.
Not that we have to answer them, but I just want to draw attention. There are two comments from outside. Why can't West and Georges Creek be open 2 days a week? And then that's the Westernport. Why are we are only 24 years old? We doesn't need upkeep like Washington Street. We don't use library landscaping or mowing. Our town does that.
Yep.
I don't think that landscaping was in the total.
I just draw
know.
attention. Somebody made a comment.
My brain was like, is that included? I'm not sure. But with what we've been given, this is what we have to go with. I mean, we don't know any different. If it is different, we don't know.
As far as the why can't West and Georges Creek be open 2 days a week, we could definitely look at how much that savings would be. I don't think we could do that.
It's not going to give you these
Closing, right, it's not a place of closing.
And keep in mind, we're not telling those areas if we close that we're not providing services to them. Okay, so, you know, that's what I think when they hear closing, oh my gosh, we don't have a library. No, you still are gonna have services, and they may be better than what you're receiving now because it's gonna be more concentrated on what your needs are. Yeah.
As you're wrapping up, I just wanted to say that this process again was, for me, full of integrity. Nothing leaked out. You know, we followed the rules and regulations that have been set up in the beginning. I think, except for a couple times as far as transparency, I think everything that we asked for, we did receive. It may have been a little coded a little bit, but I think that it's been transparent. And also, I think that everybody was being very honest. And I congratulate you for being a great chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You made it very easy for me. But I will get all this together and I thank you all, and I'll let you know about the meeting with Jason. And I'll try to get this out by the end of the week. No, that's tomorrow is the end of the week. The beginning of next week.
Make sure Jason knows that he's gonna have a ruling group.
Oh, I know.
When is the library board?
I don't know.
In January. When was the library board meeting in January?
When our normal board meeting is.
January
I think that's the second.
January 14th.
Second Tuesday.
You're inviting him here to our turf rather than we go to his turf.
Yeah, we're gonna try. And I'm gonna try to have a Zoom on. We'll have the app. I'm gonna focus it on him.